Welcome to the Pagan Perspective. My name is Angel and I am your Friday host. And today we're going to be talking about folk magic versus ceremonial magic. Okay, so the question is, I am very much into practicing folk magic, but I am not very well versed in practicing ceremonial magic. Living in a college dorm room, as I do at the moment, is hard for me to get into the ceremonial magic, but I think I am limiting myself by practicing folk magic. How would you guys recommend I get into practicing ceremonial magic? Okay, for those who don't know what folk magic is and versus ceremonial magic, folk magic, and I'll give it to it short because a lot of people probably do know. Folk magic is considered more traditional magic, and ceremonial magic is considered high magic. Now, I don't really go with the high, low, whatever magic. Basically, to break it down in an example, folk magic, if you were practicing folk magic and you were cleaning your house and you're sweeping, you're putting your intentions into not only cleaning out the dirt, but cleaning out the dirt energy, the negative energy, the stagnant energy, cleaning it out. And you go through this actual ritual of doing that in the aspect that you are intentions, you're sweeping, and you get rid of the dirt and you put it out either in the garden or whatever you do with it to get it out of your house. And that's it. And you may go and you may do your windows the same way. Everything you may do may be just the process of doing the job, putting your intentions into it. Now, ceremonial magic, if you were doing a cleansing of the house, you may still use a broom and you may still do sweep up the dirt and the dirty energy. But before you do that, you may call a circle and you may do a smudging in your house. You may, once you've cleansed out the last area, you might put salt over your windowsill and close circle, yada yada yada. And so that would be considered ceremonial magic. It's a more of a process. It's a more in-depth process of magic than folk magic is. To me, both of them are just as effective, because it really depends on how you are in that ritual. Because you can go to do ceremonial magic and your heart's not totally in it, your mind's somewhere else or what have you, and you can go through all these motions and do all this ritual, and at the end it really didn't do a whole lot. Or you can be very focused on your folk magic and sweeping, and that might be more effective. So it doesn't really matter which one you do. They're both equally, in my opinion, equally as effective. Now, anytime we get a question about doing magic or practicing or anything in a dorm room or at a college, I get a little concerned because I never lived in a dorm in college, so I don't have an idea of that functionality at all. The only thing I can associate it to is when I lived with my folks. After I had moved out for a number of years, I think it was 2008 or 2009, I moved back in with my folks in Mississippi, and they're pretty rigid in their religion, so it's not the same as mine, so I had a lot of difficulties in doing my practice, so I had to incorporate more folk magic than the ceremonial magic I was used to doing. Now, I don't think you're limiting yourself with doing folk magic. I really don't. But if you want to experience ceremonial magic, you have to take into account your environment. What is your environment allowing you to do? So with me living with my folks, when I did ritual that was more ceremonial, I had to do it in stages. It takes longer. It's a more frustrating process. But once you get your head around it, you can smooth out all of the kinks. Now, what I would do is basically I would tell my folks, I'm going to need some privacy at this amount of time. And they knew they knew I was doing magic or practicing my craft, but they don't want to hear about it. and they didn't want to deal with or know about it. So I would do it in stages. Basically, I would go in, I would set everything up and get ready and listen. Is anybody gonna interrupt me? Okay. So then I would call my circle, call my quarters. Once I was done with that, I would listen. Okay, nobody's gonna bother me? Okay. So then I would think who came to help me with my magical workings, and then I would take a pause and make sure nobody was calling to me or what have you. So at first it was a very difficult process, and it felt constantly there wasn't a good flow. But once I got into it and I started working out the little kinks and the details and nuances, then it became much more smooth. Not as smooth as if you didn't have to worry about that, but again, you have to be really mindful of your environment and the people in your environment. And distractions. I mean, I get really distracted really easy outside when doing a ritual with my coven. Oh, bunny. Oh, bird. Oh, hummingbird. Oh, this. I mean, I have to really be careful and very, focused. So I have to take into account my environment and prepare myself mentally. I'm going to see animals. I got to be careful. I got to focus. I got to be focused. Don't look. But in a college environment, it's difficult. You have constant interruptions, constant distractions, whether it's music or people talking. But if you wanted to practice ceremonial magic and you wanted to get into it to see how you could incorporate it, what I would suggest is if you can find a local store that has ritual for Esbats or Sabbats. Even on college campuses, there are a lot of college campuses that are very neutral in their spirituality, and they have religious groups that get together, pagan groups or Wiccan groups that get together and practice different types of magic and do different classes. You can get involved with them to see how you could incorporate different little things into your practice to see if you like them and want to incorporate more ceremonial type of things. The thing is if you haven't done ceremonial magic but you're interested in doing it, then the best way to see if it's actually going to work for you is getting involved with it. And if you can only get involved with it uninterrupted by going to a circle at maybe a pagan store or an open circle that maybe a coven is doing in a park or what have you, then I would suggest doing that so you can see how it is and how you can incorporate it into your practice in your current environment. For example, my mom says she's allergic to incense. I don't know how legit that is. I think she just didn't want us to burn incense, but she said she's allergic. She's allergic. So I would have to burn scented candles that had herbs in them or oils in them, or just ones that you get at the store or what have you. Once too many candles became an issue, then I would use 4 candles for my elements or 5 candles for all my elements. And then if I wanted any other candles for anything, I would get those little, either the tea lights or the regular ones that have the battery in them. And you can get those scented too. I don't think they give off as much of a fragrance. I haven't really tried the scented ones, so I wouldn't know. But I used them in my ceremonial magic, but I had to kind of edit them to my environment. So that's what I would suggest when it comes to practicing ceremonial magic. See where you can practice it without interruption. If you do know what you want to do, if you've already studied it and researched it, because most books have lengthy descriptions of different things you can do in regards to their ceremonial magic. If you've already done the research, then I would suggest doing your practice in phases. Like I said, it takes longer and it takes a little time to get into that rhythm, but you'll be able to practice it. The last thing that was underneath the comment, and I'm sorry, I've had such a problem with my allergies right now. It says, also, any questions on the Norse gods temple being built in Iceland? I know it's being built because a wonderful person in my coven, their god is Odin, and they actually lived in Iceland for a good many years. So they're very excited about this. And I heard it from them about this temple being built. I want to go to Iceland. I've heard lots of stories about it. It's got deep pagan roots and beliefs that they still hold on to. It just sounds like a magical place to go and be a part of. So, I don't know, maybe one day I'll be able to see the temple, but I really don't know much about it. If anybody lives in Iceland and knows anything about it, please comment down below. And even if, I don't know if you can take pictures of the temple being built, but maybe you can, and maybe you can't. If you can and you've taken them, please also put those down below, or links to them. But yeah, it's a really cool thing that it's being built. I'm excited to see what happens with it. And that's it. So I hope that my video helped. Like I said, I feel a little apprehensive when I do videos in regards to college dorms because I never lived in one. So I kind of have to take the limitations that you have in a college dorm and associate them to me having the limitations of living in a home where I wasn't able to freely practice my magic the way I always did. And with constant interruptions and people not really respecting my space and what have you, which feels like it could be associated with a college dorm. But again, I don't know all the logistics of that, so I hope it helped. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I love hearing from everybody as usual. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. And until next time, blessed be. Bye.